do with your client, it's going in. It's going in. And you can see some amazing results. I worked for years in prisons with inmates, which are probably one of the most resistant groups of folks you can work with. So I use a lot of metaphors because they will shut down on you. So using humor, very appropriate, and you have to use your timing right to insert humor to lighten things up for a few minutes. And it's really an art form. Good psychotherapy is an art form. Has nothing to do with telling people what to do, giving them advice. You're more, the way I like to think of it, you're kind of a coach in their own exploration. But sometimes you can judge we need a little lightness here, and use of humor used appropriately, obviously, another clinical skill. Assertiveness, it's something that we really, some students had difficulty with ratcheting that up or back. The horse will tell you.
That goes with the boundaries too.
That goes with
that
boundaries
too.
That
was a theme at the FIT workshop when we did this. Almost every single clinician had it.
It kind of was, yes.
Including myself.
Problem solving. We may give you a little scenario, nothing complicated. And if it's working out, can you fly by the seat of your pants and come up with a different approach right there? Because it'll happen in the therapy room all the time. You go in there with your treatment plan and what you plan on accomplishing in that session, and you just might as well throw it away and learn to go with what you get, because you might get something that you totally weren't expecting, and if you don't go with it, it's lost forever, and that's your timing issue again, which you'll see play out here. Congruence, the inside has to match the outside. If you're fearful inside and you go up to these horses acting all confident, they can tell. And it's just good to know, to be able to assess your own skills. Staying present, not thinking in your mind what the next person's going to do, not worrying about what just happened a few minutes ago. If you don't stay present, and that's a kind of focus on your part, you want to keep your client focused, but you have to stay focused because you'll miss things. You'll miss the good stuff, quite frankly, if you're unable to stay in the present. You're worried about watching the time and so forth. You've got to be able to sort of box those things off. Flexibility, once again, goes kind of with problem solving. You've got to be flexible and don't rigidly stick with the plan when it's not working. Self-regulate. We had students get incredibly emotional because when they went out and picked a horse out, we had an extra horse in there. And everybody was worried about, oh, that guy doesn't have a partner, and well, he must feel bad. And I'm going,
we're all caretakers by trade, so everybody felt bad for the one left behind.
Right. So kind of monitoring those things, or if you think your client doesn't like you, you gotta keep all of that in check. So that's self-regulate your own emotional responses. Tracking and scanning literally is never take your eye off your client. It just always kills me when I see young therapists taking notes in the therapy session down here, and I'm going, you're missing the good stuff. Don't take your eye off of your client, and you'll really see that with horses. So I think that's enough. It's that kind of consistent with what you all know, because we're ready to hit the road. I have to go and do a little presentation to the board of directors in a few minutes.
One more thing, you're almost 5 till 10.
Okay.
Someone had requested interpretation. Who was that?
Oh, yes.
That was brilliant, whoever requested that.
As a clinical skill that we didn't have listed on ours.
That was good.
So, tell us a little bit. It's Kate, not Kat, right?
Yes.
Kate. Tell us a little bit, Kate, how you interpret interpretation as a clinical skill.
It's kind of going more than just merely reflecting back what the client is saying to you, kind of seeing between the lines. And I know I need work on that, so that's why I brought it up. Is that what you were looking for?
Okay, right. No, whatever you all have been taught as a clinical skill, we'll try to incorporate that. So it's finding meaning in things and being able to communicate that. So if you wanted to work on that, what we'll have you do today in your little scenario is literally verbalize that part to the fellow students and the staff here. And what could you make of that if you were actually in a clinical circumstance and this was a client? See if you're on target. Well, that might mean he's experiencing this and that and so forth. So you do that out loud. Everybody okay with giving feedback? Or anybody that wants, that's how we'll handle the interpretation part, okay? So we're going to start this exercise because I've only got 15 minutes before I have to exit for about 20 minutes, but you're in good hands here. So here's the goal. Go in there, just interact, just observe a little bit behavior. The goal is going to be, but don't rush it. You are going to see if a particular horse seems to pick you out, or you seem drawn to a particular horse here. Just let that develop on its own. Don't rush it. Do not worry if everybody else has a horse and I don't have a horse yet. This is one of those self-regulation things. That's one of, you should be able to negatively hallucinate. If anybody's worked with Dr. Courtney here, he and I are both buddies with our hypnosis, and you ought to be able to just block everything out. There's nothing but you and your focus on the group of horses until that process happens. Do not be self-monitoring out here.
Don't think too much. This is really like your first session. Your goal is to develop rapport with the client.
Yes. So the more you can be aware, and if you're aware you're doing that, say, oh, I'm looking out here in my peripheral vision and I'm checking that everybody else has one and I haven't been able to do that yet, well then that's something you need to work on. And feel free to report that to Dr. Tim here. And or we might see that in you too. We might see that in you too. So the goal is eventually kind of hook up with the horse. When you feel that has happened, you're going to call on Dean or Missy. They're going to bring a halter in there, and then you're going to be permanently bonded temporarily to your horse. Okay? So once you feel that you've kind of made some kind of a connection, everybody kind of got that idea? Okay, ready to go?
Ready to go.
Okay, let's go.